Thanks. Absolute pleasure to be here today, and thank you guys for having us over. We had a few days here of working in schools and everything. We had the opportunity to play a little bit with Damien already. We're looking forward to play a little bit more with him. So, as we understand the format of this class is what we do is we'll start at and we'll address some sort of technical things. We'll address some things that we personally think are things that shaped basically our way of looking at guitar. There's a lot of technical books, there's a lot of things that are out there, but some things that we more or less, I wouldn't say we invented, but things that we really rely on to create the sort of playing that we do. So since Ben and I are two here, I think we're going to, we decided to, before we came here today, to I'll focus on left hand, and then we'll focus on right hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, somehow we'll put those together, I guess.
And then I can play the right hand, you can play the left hand. This is great.
So, yeah. Oh, it's done. Okay. We'll begin with left hand. Left hand is kind of a tricky thing, as we all know. We spend a lot of time looking at the left hand as we're playing and trying to figure out how it can work and everything. And I've been fortunate to see a lot of different string players, and say not only just really good guitar players, but string players and things, and sort of figure out how they go about playing the instrument like their instrument, and trying to incorporate some of those principles into guitar playing. And so one thing I noticed was that when I was doing a competition one time, I was noticing that I was playing the headstock of my guitar was like shaking like crazy. And it happened more and more as I was getting more nervous and things. And I noticed that, this was a problem, I got to fix this. I saw, of course, like videos of Manuel Barwaco and did Russell and stuff like that. And as they play, you notice the headstock is just perfectly still. And how they transfer their fingers and everything like that from note to note is just so beautiful and precise. So there was no sort of indication, no one told, you just sort of watch these things, but no one really kind of tells you how they go about doing that sort of thing or so. And they never told me, so I don't know how they do it either. But at least I tried to figure out for myself, how we can do that sort of thing on a guitar playing. So if you all have some guitars right here, we'll do like a little exercise here. And put on our lap like this. And put your hand on an E major chord. So if you know an E major chord, or it looks a little different, like this right here, or any sort of chord that so we have our second finger on the fifth string, we have our third finger on the fourth string, right there, both of them are on the second string. Yeah. Oh. So just do it, C, right? So our fingers are on that right now. And I want you to just take your guitar, and I want you to put it a little bit on the, maybe not a little bit on an incline or something like that, but just to the point where you feel like each of the fingers are really sort of touching the strings, and you can feel like the weight of the guitar is being supported by your fingertips. And your fingers are curved, so you feel a sort of counter pressure going. Now if can we sort of sense that? You can just sort of jiggle the guitar a little bit, and they can sort of feel like that's it's a little bit of elasticity, but at the same time you're supporting the instrument. Now, if we're going to switch to a D chord, then how would you do that without dropping the guitar? So you'd probably move the first finger just slightly up, and then you would reposition the finger so that you'd have a D chord. You see what I did? I went like this to there. And if you were going to go to, you have to know a lot of chords and things like that in order to sort of do this exercise or so. But what we want to do is we want to get a sense of like the hand in both situations. Both hands function like a great Olympic runner. So when you see these people running and they run really fast and stuff like that, as they're running, you see like the head is completely still, but the legs and everything like that is moving really beautifully under that. And if that analogy holds, then you think that the fingers are like all the moving parts, and then the hand is the body, supported by arms and everything like that. So the idea is that we want to move the fingers in such a way so that it's not affecting the hand at all. The hand's not bouncing and stuff. That's one indication. Another thing too is that if you have to support, here's my body, and for me to stand, I have to push down with my legs. Because if I take all the weight out of my legs, then my whole body collapses. So, if you begin with that sort of idea of how the hand is set up, the idea is that the hand is not supposed to, if you're going to go from a C chord to an F chord and to a D chord and stuff like that, then your hand's just flying all over the place and you have very little reference to where you should place your fingers. So when I play, this sort of reference point is very important for me, and I have to find ways to move my fingers around so that I can do different things without losing the weight of the counterpunch. You know what I mean? So I'll give you just a sort of simple, kind of maybe a slightly uncomfortable exercise. It's a little bit more advanced exercise or so, but just kind of give you the idea of what I'm talking about. So replace 4 fingers on the 6th string. And it could be, if it's hard to make a stretch down here, then play up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I want you to do is I want you to think that this is like a 4-legged animal right here. You want to feel like every leg or so is equally balanced. And what happens here, the goal of this sort of exercise is to figure out how to place weight on certain elements so that other elements can move. So if we place more and more weight on our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger, so let's try that out. All 4 of them are equally balanced. Place more and more weight on 3, 2, 3, and 4. What happens to 1? 1 releases. So now your weight is focused in on these 3 fingers. So you have 1 finger that can move. So we'll take that first finger and we'll put it on the next string. And it has to go just like, if you're going to place your foot down, you can't place it on your ankle or something like that. You have to place it firmly on the fingertip. You have to find the fingertip. And sometimes I have a hard time finding my first fingertip. So I have to kind of move it around and shake it and stuff like that until I can find like a good footing for it. So this finger has released. We put it on the 5th string. We find the fingertip. And then we put that weight, we press down, just like if you're going to walk from here to there, you press down on the 1st finger. And then the 1st finger, with all that weight, suddenly these 3 fingers pop up. So what we're doing is we're not actively trying to, let the fingers fly out. We're just displacing the weight. Okay? So we went from here to there. We press down on 1, and then these 3 pop up. Okay? And then we're going to curl these 3 in. And these 3 are going to find their way onto the 4th string. It's going to feel kind of weird because you have to sort of crunch in a little bit But you have to line these up. And then we're going to apply our weight. Another thing is that I keep my thumb slightly high. I don't adjust my thumb back and forth right here, so curl my fingers more and more in. If you're playing a string instrument or something like that, if you notice that if they're playing the violin or so, you notice that they're very high on the first string. Like they create this box. So the sort of middle range that I think of guitar playing is right around here. This is an extension, but this is also an extension. Not, what's the opposite of an extension? I don't know. It's just really, playing on the first string for me should require some effort. So, to curl in. So, obviously we're here, then we're here, we applied our pressure onto this finger. We're going to move 2, 3, and 4 to the 4th string, and then we're going to press down evenly on 2, 3, and 4. So press down in it just like you're going to press down to transfer your weight from one to the other, and then one pops up again. And then we'll take one, and then we'll put it on the 3rd string. All right? Now feel the transfer of the weight from these 3 fingers to this 3 balanced fingers. You know, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 of the weight of the body here. And then you're going to put all that weight into this one finger, the first finger onto the 3rd string. So you press onto that. You notice the first string, the first finger is going to start curling more and more into the hand. And then we're going to curl even more so that all the weight's here, and now we're going to play weight on to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, or the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger onto the 2nd string, excuse me. Apply weight there. And then we're going to really put the weight on here, and then we're going to really curl it so that you can put your finger on the first string right there, and then press right there. So this for me is an exercise like this is something for me to, if you notice the headstock, you know, my first goal was that the headstock was not going to move at all. But as I found out, is just really trying to displace the same weight, but sometimes transferring to 3 fingers or to 1 finger or so. I think it's very important to use the full flexibility of your fingers to come in and out of the strings, as opposed to using larger parts of the body to do refined movements. That's my personal thing. So if you're going to go from string to string like that, it's good. You're going to be a lot more successful if you're going to use smaller joints as opposed to larger arm motions or so. So it's what we call kind of like, you know, there's horizontal playing, there's vertical playing. So this is really focused on vertical playing. So there's 6 exercises that you can do that kind of look like this. So just to kind of go through them, we did like the 1 and the 3, so it looks like that. We're curling in, then we're making our way back down, feeling. And once again, it isn't just like you're just doing fingering exercise. You have to feel you pushing down so that the other one can release. And you have to feel like you're pushing down so that the other ones can release. That's very, very important to feel. So we can do different ones like this one. We can free up number 2. So that we're using 1, 3, and 4. Free up number 2. And I'll let you guys try this a little bit at home. Yeah? You guys are figuring out already, so faster than I was. Remember, take enough time so that you can feel the transfer of weight. Then we can free up the 3rd finger, so we put our pressure on 1, 2, and 4 so that the 3rd finger can move. Press down on 3. Like that, and then make our way back again. And then it's going to feel kind of weird to get used to, but and then of course like 1, 2, 3 are by themselves, and then 4, something to put your entire weight on 4. So there's that motion right there. And then you can do 2 finger combinations. So for instance, you have 1 and 3. equal pressure on 1, 3. Always begin with all 4 equally on. Press down on 1 and 3, and then 2 and 4 unlock. Press down 2 and 4, and then 1, 3 unlock. And then you have 1 and 4, 2 and 3 like that. Oops, messed up that. So, when you think about that, if you're going to play like a now I'm just going to improvise off of this feel that I've tried to incorporate from this exercise. So, all my weight's right here. 2 fingers. Hard to do that. When you have that weight also, it gives you the possibility to have a nice vibrato, because you need to have weight into the string in order to create a very nice vibrato. So, this is a concept that I really strongly believe in. I've tried it, and I've tried it again, and I've tried it again, and it just, as the more time that I spend with it, the more I feel like this is a good way to go. So, I want you all to try this a little bit and just give it a shot, and then eventually see if you can, if there are some parts and pieces or something like that. Then I would like to improvise. So if I was going to improvise off of that feel, I would take 1 finger, put all my weight in there, just like putting all your weight into one leg, and see if I can move over to here and then there and everything. So, feel really organic, and everything will feel quite good, and it'll feel nice to not have this sort of jarring sort of, it won't feel like your body's going all over the place. You feel like you're maintaining the weight of the hand the whole time.
And basically there is always one finger or several fingers that are in contact with the strings or in contact with the guitar. Basically the worst scenario for the left hand is this one. This is the worst you can do. There is worse, this is this.
Yeah.
So it goes into the idea that you need to have a lot of contact points with the guitar. So it begins with the contact points you have here, you have here, you have one here, you have one here, and then one here, and then you can follow up with the fingers. It's the same kind of idea. Like if I want, for example, to shift from that spot to the other one, with just that finger, I will never do that. I would do. We have
Several fingers.
because it's easier, because there is more information. I mean, the fingers are very clever. There is that sense that is the touch. It's the touch, and the touch sends a lot of information to the brain. Just being there, I know exactly where I am. And it's not I'm not thinking, it's just the information is already in the brain. So the cleverness, the way you think is not only in the brain, it's everywhere. It's in the body. It's why we have a body. It's because the intelligence is everywhere. So it's in the fingertips are really clever, because they are made, they were built for that. So I can close my eyes and say, oh, this is good. This is because it's not cold, because oh, this is not the same. I don't have to see that. I don't have to look. I don't have to use the vision. And it's the same with the guitar. If you go to a concert, most of the concert players, they don't look at the figures, because they don't need, because they have all the coordinates. They are already there. So I will just.
I'll have one conclusion.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just the idea is that guitar playing is hard enough in itself. So the concept is be as nice to yourself as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So, it's like, how can I not miss that note? You know, how many fingers can I put down to make sure that I'm going to land right there and be relaxed and find that? It's hard enough to play guitar. So we have to always find ways to make things easier and easier and easier. And the more reference points that you have, the more you're going to be able to find that note that you're looking for. So always find references, always find ways to make guitar playing easier, essentially. And that's kind of the whole gist.
Yeah, and as I said, if you have a lot of reference points and of coordinates that are sent to the brain, then you don't have to think, which is good, because if you're a good player, you mustn't think. If you think too much on stage, for example, then you're off. It's like so you have, everything has to be like already embedded in the fingers, in the brain, and then you can just think about the music, about the beautiful music you want to do. It's the same for the right hand. I've been through a lot of different techniques for the right hand, and it's interesting how I had, of course, like everyone, different teachers that were sending me in different directions. And you know, in France there is also a different kind of technique, the La Goya technique, and also the kind of Spanish South American technique for the right hand. And it's very interesting because one technique, the La Goya technique, lies on the idea of having the entire arm like resting on the side of the guitar, and then you put your hand like that, and you touch, of course, the right side of the neck. Okay, I've been playing like that during like 7 years, and it's interesting. After I was graduated from the Paris Conservatory, I said, you know, I have to rethink my right hand technique. And it was exactly at the same moment that I was working a lot with dancers, modern dancers, and I asked them, what do you think about my posture and everything? And he said, you know, if you rest your arm, the entire weight of your arm on the guitar, then all the muscles that are in the right side of your body are disconnected. They're useless. You don't use those muscles. So it's pretty bad, because you need those muscles, those very, very heavy muscles here in the back to get the shoulders in the right position, and not to be one side of your body activated and one side of your body is activated, which is not good for the practice. And it went on my brain and said, oh yeah, it's interesting. And I asked myself that question. Do you know one instrument that rests his arm on the instrument? One instrument player that rests his arm on the instrument. Do you know one?
Think of a horn player. Like a horn player. They rest their hand in the ballad.
Yeah, the hand, yeah. But I'm thinking like piano, harp, flute, violin, cello, oboe, clarinet, whatever. There is no. So I began to work on the idea of this contact is just a point of reference. It's not a resting point. So I activated the entire right side of my body, and it's very interesting because, and I'm trying to. So I did a lot of work, for example, like practicing without just having the. For example, I have a beautiful romantic guitar, and this guitar is so small that I can't rest my. I have to be always above the guitar. So what? It's interesting. I looked at the Gail Solal masterclass she gave, and it's interesting because we have the same kind of first exercise for the right hand, and we can do that. But I want you to think about the idea of having your elbow maintaining a very soft contact with the guitar, but not doing that. Yeah, it's off, that is on. It's like a gear for the sound, you know. You put it on and you put it off. So just, you know, it's like a dance posture, the first position première. This is the same with the guitar. So try to be really, and just touch there, and we're gonna put all the fingers on the strings.
Yeah, so
1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
A, N, I, E. Okay. And just do A. But at the same time, feel that you have a wing. It's a wing. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Do the same with N. And the idea is you have to touch. You have to touch with your fingertip the inside of the hand. You have to feel it exactly. And feel the elbow like floating. Find the contact and then. And then you can go from that exercise very easily to a kind of arpeggio. Very easy. And always think that you have wings instead of having very heavy arms. And then it will activate your shoulders. Yeah. It's like when you put a shoot on what's the name of that? Un cintre? What's the name in English? Really? Belt? No, un cintre. Where you put your.
Oh, it's a hanger. It's a hanger.
Hanger, yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, sorry. Thank you.
So it's exactly, you need to have that same feeling of, yeah. And then, exactly. Because most of the problems comes from the idea that guitarists and players in general, they are obsessed by their finger. But the finger is just the last item of a long chain of muscles that comes from the back of the body. And if everything is working great here, then everything will work very well here. There's no problem. Exactly. Yeah. And then we can go from that exercise to that lovely little piece from with the same idea. You have to feel always that your elbow is floating. And it's just a contact point. It's never that. I mean, for me, when I say never, it's for me. It's not universal, but it's just that. So you can have. I love the idea of in technique. What is important for me is not to make technique, to do technique, and then do something different, and then play my study, and then play my. It's the idea is the scenario. So, if you want the technique to go into the music, to go into the pieces or the repertoire, you have to follow the exercise, has to be followed by something that is a little bit more exciting in terms of music. and you have to use all the researches, or the experience, or the findings you made with the exercise. You have to put that directly into the music. So I would really do a scenario like that, like doing that, exactly, for example, and then, and look at my thumb, he's playing, but as soon as he played a note, he's going to another place just to get that contact point, and it's very important. And then invent something, what you want, and stick to your feelings, to what you feel with your body. It's very important. Very simple exercise. And if you feel that you lost something, then come back to that. Okay. Okay. I feel that the right idea again, and then you can really improve yourself a lot. So I think that the right hand. So of course, if you don't rest the entire weight of your hand and arm and everything on the guitar, then you have to rely on this contact point, and of course the thumb and the other fingers that are always somewhere on the guitar, exactly like Randy explained for the left hand. It's exactly the same idea.
How should it feel with the shoulders and things like that?
And the shoulders are really like boom. It's like you have the spine, and the shoulder is like older on the. Yeah, exactly. So there is just to finish. There is a few words that are very tricky in the guitar teaching. It's be relaxed. What does it mean exactly? And I love the vocabulary of the dance, of the modern dance, for example, because they use a word that I love. It's in French, it's tonicité, means tonicity. I don't know if the same in English, tonicité. Be tonic. Sorry?
Yeah, it would be alert.
Yeah, this means that it's exactly like a preamp, audio preamp. It's off. I'm off. My muscles are off. And most of the students they think that I'm relaxed. I'm not relaxed. I'm off. It's completely different. Then I'm on, but I'm relaxed. And then I can play. But all the muscles are ready to do something. Exactly like a dancer. Like a dancer, you can see when he arrives on the stage, he's on. It's not like that. It's on. It's exactly the way I see myself when I'm playing the guitar. I'm ready to make everything possible. So I'm ready, all the machinery and things in my body are ready to do something. Really precise motions and everything. So it's the idea of being alert, of being ready to do things. So put yourself in mode on. The light is, oh, this is the light, okay, on. So never, I never like pressed anything on the guitar. And it's very interesting because when you do that, then all the motions, the bad weird motions of the head of the guitar appear. And it's great because they hear you have to solve that by having a lot of contact points and everything. And it's why I love these things because most of the people that are using that for the first time also say, oh, it's unstable, it doesn't work, because you know the guitar is shifting all the time. Of course it's shifting because you can see all the weird motions and the weird forces you apply to the guitar that makes the guitar feel restless. So you have to be really careful of that and solve that slowly with being aware of the muscles and everything.
In truth, that one is probably the most stable of.
Yeah, I agree.
There's different types. I use suction cups and whatever.
Yeah.
I think both Ben and I have experienced that one is the one that really feels like an extension of the guitar.
So if you can, don't use the foot stool. It's really bad for the back. It's really bad for, because it makes, of course, it makes your body and your muscle from the belly, from the back, like always trying to adapt all the time. So it's 2 feet on the ground. It's like all the other musicians. Like find a musician that has
Put up there. There's an exercise that we did with ensemble kids over the course of these several days or so, and it's this it is in Canton or so, where we all had to like stand up at the same time. You guys had to do that too, and and it's kind of hard to the general rule is like, okay, we're all just going to stand up at the same time, and no one's going to give a cue. We're just all going to do this at the same time, and then it was like. Do that, and then just do it a few times, and then all of a sudden everybody's starting to stand at the same time. But one of the adjustments that we always have to make is that, we're sitting, the students in class, they're usually sitting back like that, and there's no way that they can really, everyone can stand up at the same time because they have to adjust everything.
Yeah, they need to reorganize the body because the body is not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
To stand up.
Exactly. So if you feel like a good sitting position is if you can do that. For instance, you should feel like you're in a spot where you can do anything.
Exactly. Make things possible. I mean, the ultimate research for a musician it's freedom. It's the freedom of doing what he wants. If you, for example, a simple example, if you resting your arm here and you want to do a tastiera, for example, you have to reorganize your shoulder. Go there and do your new color. If you like that, there is no problem. I can do that, I can do that, I can do what I want. It's no problem, it's freedom. So the ultimate research for me with guitar and with Randy, it's getting more and more freedom to do what you want to do. And I think that, for example, improvisation, free or coding improvisation is an amazing tool also, because you want to do things and so you find ways to do it, like kids find ways to do what they want with the instrument. So it's very interesting to go in that direction also.
I love the free improvisation because we're so focused in on like from the fingertips on down. So we start with fingertips and then we probably don't even consider what the body is and everything. We work with free improvisation, though, it's all based off of gestures, and the note is like the least important thing. It's the gesture that's so important. So you're working, in a sense, you have to free up your whole body to be available for like these.
Let's do a very short film.
Yeah. And it's it's these gestures that give, for instance, Ben and I, it gives us a lot of information on when to play or whatnot. We don't have to sit there and stare at each other like, oh, he's going to go like this, and therefore I'm going to do that. It's just sort of, there's this sort of peripheral vision, and but it's but when we do these improvisations, whether or not we like it, it has an effect on what we do. It's kind of like I see this gesture, I hear this gesture, and everything like that, and it reflects something. If I play a wrong note, it doesn't matter, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, think about that. So
And we played only wrong notes. That's great.
yeah. But it's all just, it's kind of like, it's such a luxury to begin, like, for instance, doing a warm-up routine without the music stand. But just using your ears and not caring about the notes that you're playing, but just researching the gestures that you're doing and just trying to refine them and feel more and more comfortable with them.
what is great also when you have beginners, well, I have beginners every year, and you just give them a guitar and they improvise. It's easy for them. More easy than someone that has like taken 10 years of classical training. So we have to maintain that very interesting way of looking at the guitar as a child, you know, like trying to, it's an instrument, it's a way to express yourself. So there is, find the freedom in the technique and then express, at the same time express yourself with that freedom. And it could be at any level. There is no, it's a sphere, it's not high and low.
I'll tell you, if you have the luxury also to have like a sort of sparring partner with improvisation or even warming up. Like Ben and I, like if we're not hitting on, you know, just the communication is not there between our two guitars and like that, we'll just go improv for a long, long time. And then we'll go through the techniques and stuff like that we kind of want to have, you know, in the pieces that are coming up and stuff like that through the improv, just sort of just throw them in there. Or not, I don't know. But
and it creates a real interesting space of possible things. It's a space. Basically, music is space. Yeah. Okay, so perhaps we can stop here.
Your stand there, what brand is that?
this is a Japanese.
Japanese, yeah, it's Murata. Yeah, Murata. It's not very easy to find. I know that. I don't want to make advertisement, but I know that Street Spike may have it.
Yeah, and they're also a little expensive. They're like 60s and
Yeah.
But
it's a very interesting piece of.
it's your bag,
yeah,
or
it's-
it's $70, you know, sort of thing. So
I have one of those that tends to slide down like that.
yeah, this one's pretty good though.
Yeah.
it has a felt, you know, bottom
Okay, that's
to it.
about.
Yeah.
And usually when we play, we don't play like, you know, like silk pants or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like,
That's where
like-
your jeans
so,
slide.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I've had other ones and they've slipped all the time. And this one, then again, I mean, it's just like we're so used to moving anyways. I mean, we move a lot when we play and everything like that. So it's just kind of go, it's over here, and then we just take the guitar and bring it back or so. So it's just sort of, yeah.
What is great is it puts the guitar in. It's an obligation for the guitar to be in balance. To be balanced.
Yeah, my back is better when I use that back.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing is if the guitar is staying by itself, then you have a lot of chances to really.
Yeah, something that I tell my kids is like, you know, it's like you have to find a position where the hands can be free to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
So you have to find a position where you can do that. So it's like at least 4 contact points. You know, 4 contact points, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 is a really good way to go. But
Yeah.
this is not, as Ben says, it's
Yeah.
absolutely vital that you don't on to here. So you have to find that sort of balance and everything like that. And feel like you can kind of.
And the sound is completely different if you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use your whole arm, if you use your whole arm, if you use your whole, if you can make a movement that uses your whole back, yeah, you can really start making some sound.
Yeah, if you go from until mezzo forte, it's okay. But if you want to go further than mezzo forte, then you have to use muscles. And if you want to play for a long time, so you have to use like the very, very deep muscles in the body. All the sports guys and the dancers, they use that very well. Sorry.
So, when you hold it, I know I played around with it. How about angle?
Yeah.
Which angle? How far rotate it out like that? Do you have a recommendation on that, or how does that
Yeah,
device?
I think that the more that you rotate like this, the more you have the possibility of your wrist coming out, and that's not very good.
Yeah.
So we try to find, you know, the hand should come to the fretboard like that, and you can't like look at every single string. You know, you have to get into the habit of looking at these reference points here and using a lot of touch to find out what string you're on.
Yeah.
So it feels more and more, you know, sometimes you lean forward, sometimes you're in the back.
Yeah, it's what is good is there is an articulation with
Yeah.
that's just you can really like do what you want.
It's like the
is very...
Mine's the typical, mine's the one that you buy.
Oh, you mean the... Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I did it. I bought another stick. It's in steel, and I cut it and bend it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to have that my guitar. The more it's straight like that, the more the guitar will be a little bit horizontal. I prefer to have my guitar more. I don't want my left hand to go really far to reach the notes. So I like this idea, but it's personal.
Yeah.
It's really what you.
But you can try it. Maybe you can try it and you can see how it is, because it puts the guitar in different positions. I like half the guitar, half cello sort of position or so.
Yeah.
You guys just got me yelled at, I paid like $90 for this one.
What are you talking about? That one right there?
Yeah.
That's the same one, that's what we
I
have.
ordered something, it's not a Japanese one.
No, that's the one that we have. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah, you did a good job. Yeah. How much?
I paid, with the shipping and everything, like $88.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
It's yeah.
Oh,
Okay, we have to.
Night and day for her. Night and day, we had one of those ones with the suction cups on it. It wasn't working.
Oh no.
So,
Suction
uh,
cups.
so it helped her.
Yeah, I did it for you.
That's and you when you do concert and then
Yeah.
it's like you're losing a wheel, you know. It's like,
We have to do some, we have to hear some good guitar players.
Yeah.
So, Damien, is it you that's first? We know this guy so well, so it's just like.